Recording in progress.
But I'll be more than happy to take certain questions to start with, and then we'll weave it, and then how the whole journey goes. And of course, I'll give you a short brief in between while we talk at how the fundraising happens, what are the things we need to take care of as a startup, what are the areas which we need to look at, what are the areas which we should not look at and ignore, right? And what are the best ways to reach out to an investor and make things happen. So I am also currently raising funds for my own small startup while I invest. I also do other areas where I'm working. So I am an equal learner like all of you, right? So please let us make this more interactive so that you guys can take out more from this session rather than, few things that I would say. Is that the right way to go, Sohani?
Yes, sir.
Any specific questions that IIC has, or any specific thing that you guys would want me to cover, then you can always let me know and I can just kind of, take it forward. Okay, so we'll wait for a minute or two till we receive a few set of questions. I think you can talk over the camera, put it on the chat box, wherever you feel right. And then if we don't get enough questions, of course, I can speak for 24 hours. No problem. Okay, so let me start, while these questions are being placed, that why do we need an investment, right? So I believe that most of the people here are startups, and there is a certain kind of idea that we all have. Either we've done the project in our colleges, or there's an inspiration or an aspiration which we take from successful founders. And I'm sure after Shark Tank happening, all of us have so many ideas, right? So I'm not that kind of a shark. I would not name, but I'm not Mr. Ashnil Grover. I will be very kind and clear to you guys. So why do we? So I think previously, if I talk about the journey of the startups in India, the way we used to start, the way we used to work. When we want to start a business, we go to our parents, right? We go to our parents, we go to our friends, or maybe there's some money that we save. We have an idea in school or college that let's do something like this. 3 friends to get together, maybe 4, maybe more, maybe 1. And previously, colleges did not used to have these kind of incubation centers or centers who would guide us, like what PDEU does today and so many other universities do as of now, and where you get a lot of mentorship, a lot of experience, right? So we used to have an idea, and then we would kind of think about that, okay, how to go ahead about this. So you make a project report and we work on the financials, what is the amount of money that we need, so far and so forth, right? So that's how we start thinking about it. Then we go to our dad or friend and say, okay, man, lakh, 2 lakh, 5 lakh, 10 lakh, whatever is the money that we need, that we want to raise this money. And the family and the friends, they come out and they help you out. So in angel investment also, that round is called a family and friends round. That's the first round that we generally raise along with the startups. Okay, there are 2 questions. I'll just write it down. So if we are in a funding round, how to present business model and what shall we take into consideration? So that's about a pitch, that how do we make a pitch? That question is from Rajat Pvt or Pvt, right? And okay, so when we talk about, we'll start with pitch and then we'll see what type of investment rounds happen and how, right? So I think the first question Rajat said, Rajat, thanks for the question. So how do we present our idea? We have an idea on our mind, but how is the investor going to look at that idea? How do we convince the investor about the idea? And how do we make sure that he or she digests that idea, right? So what are things that we need to consider? So we need to make a small business plan, or in investment terms, we call that as a pitch deck, right? So it's called a pitch deck, or it's even at times termed as an elevator pitch at times. So elevator pitch, the word is derived that how much time generally takes for one to reach from ground floor to the respected floor where you're going to go and meet somebody. So this term was derived in the West that it generally takes 2 to 3 minutes. કે 2 થી 3 મિનિટમાં તમે ગ્રાઉન્ડ ફ્લોર થી જ્યાં જવું હોય ત્યાં જઈ શકો. તો તમને ઇન્વેસ્ટર કો એલિવેટરમાં જ મળી જાય તો તમે એને કેવી રીતના તમારી પિચ તમે કરશો, રાઈટ? So you have as less as 3 minutes. So that's called an elevator pitch. So pitch in general is it talks about, first it talks about, of course, the name and the idea, right? That what is your startup all about? Say, let's take an example of a startup that we all know, say Solar Tree over there. Shani Pandya has been a student there and he's been doing pretty much well. So I'm sure everybody's aware of that particular startup. So he came up with an idea one fine day and he said that, okay, now I want to make my pitch deck. So what is my idea? What is he talking about? His vision is maybe carbon credits, maybe utilizing renewable energy, making a greener energy production. So that's the fundamental where he works. Then whenever we have an idea, we have to make it commercially viable, right? So what are the economics that go behind that? So one, you start with the name. There's a lot of thought process which we also need to give in the name of the startup or the name of the product. For example, if you are, because some may be retail, some may be technology oriented, some may be B2C, some may be D2C, right? So how would you want to get identified? And tomorrow, if your startup does well, then you should have your trade name registered. Hence, it is very important to define it in the first stage that, okay, the name of my startup, if I like Paramount as a name, or if I like, maybe Purica as a name, then I need to make sure that there aren't enough owners of that particular brand name. So that is the time before even you get into your startup, the name, you need to protect your IP. We need to check with an IP advisor or an advocate that this is the brand name that I'm looking at. Would that name be available or not? That's one side, right? Second is, again, coming to the pitch deck, I'm taking two things parallelly. One is the pitch deck and what are the needs and necessities which you should do parallelly, right? Then second come is that before getting into the market, we all feel that my production, I have to put product. Everybody is going to have my ice cream. I'll come up with an ice cream which is sugar free. So all the diabetic people can have ice cream very freely. But that's not necessary, right? So it's very important before you get into any market is to do the market study. So while you do the market study, while you do the market research, what you need to look at is who are the best players in the industry. Who are my competitors, right? My competitor can be Vadilal, my competitor can be Have More, my competitor can be a Sharfi Gulfi, my competitor can be as small as a small Shankar ice cream, right? It can be anybody, right? What is the total market? What will I do in winters? I am only talking about summers. What will I do in winters? Winter mein to loko ice cream khata nahi. So we need to write down those areas when we study the competitors and the market, that what is a global market? What is a domestic market? What is the total addressable market that I'm looking at, which everybody terms as TAM, which is called a total addressable market. It's called a TAM. And what is the kind of market that I'm trying to address, right? That defines that what is the potential of your startup. કે ભી મારી પાસે ધંધો તો આજે ભલે હું એક આઈસ્ક્રીમ નથી વેચતો, but maybe in 2 years down the line, I can sell so many number of ice creams because I am located in so and so area where there are so many number of students who on an average are buying an ice cream every day from so many number of places. So one is the number and the research that you do yourself. That's the best research. The second thing what we do is that we look at certain data which is available, which is open source. You can go to Statista, right? Like statista.com is a place where you find so many numbers. So whenever you want to do research, so while we are talking about the pitch, we talked about the name. Now we are talking about the total addressable market. At the same time, we are talking about that what is the data and what is the research I need to do before I decide that yes, I want to get into this business, right? That is when you will derive data. That will when you will get into the geography of it, and that is when you will see that okay, I can sell, maybe PDPU માં 5000 સ્ટુડન્ટ છે, તો 5000 માંથી 10% રોજ આઈસ્ક્રીમ ખાતા હશે, તો 500 લોકો મારો આઈસ્ક્રીમ ખાશે. બીજા આટલા ફ્લેટ્સ છે, આટલા લોકો છે, એના ઉપરથી એનું એક કન્ઝમ્પશન ડિફાઇન હશે. So when you talk about ice cream, it's per person you are looking at. When it is about an application, you are talking about people utilizing that form of an app. When you are talking about maybe television, for example, then every home has a television, every home has a telephone. So it depends on the kind of product and the kind of market research that you need to do. And what you intend to do, what service our market needs. That's the second page I would do, or as a part of the pitch deck, which would be the total addressable market. And then what market I am going to service to. Addressable market આખું અમદાવાદ હોય, પણ હું અહીંયા ગાંધીનગરથી મણિનગર આઈસ્ક્રીમ વેચી શકીશ નહીં વેચી શકું. So that's not a part of my market. Depending on the product, we need to define that particular market. That's the second part. Now, it's also very important who's going to invest with you, right? If I'm going to invest, now I don't know the founder. I do not know their backgrounds. I do not know how educated they are, what is their business experience, or are they first generation entrepreneurs, or what are they like, right? So we need to make sure that what is the kind of characteristic of that particular founder. Founder क्या ભણેલો છે? આજે હું મારા ફાઉન્ડરમાં જોઉં કે ભાઈ I have done my masters of so and so education at PDEU, then it automatically validates at one place that okay, education છે આ level પર, right? Then I see that okay, education નથી તો એને business નો અનુભવ છે. Second is a business related, that okay, I have worked with so and so startup or so and so company, and this is the level of experience that I had in form of business. Again, depending on the startup, you always need to have a co-founder. If I'm an investor, I may not invest only in one founder. Then where is the support system? Right? It's very, very important to have a co-founder with you, maybe one or maybe two. 2 to 3 is a very good number to have, right? And these are very important aspects for anybody starting their own startup or even thinking about it. Never think a maro idea se mara koine kevo nathi. Always try and share that idea. You will get more and more people coming in, who would want to join your journey. There are some people who have an idea, who don't have a tech background. Then maybe that founder can support you on the tech background side. So third would be this founder kind of slide, that these are the kind of founders, this is our education, this is our experience, right? So that's the founder page. That's very, very important. Then you talk about the product, that here is our product. Either it is in an ideation stage, or is it in a pre-revenue stage, or is it in a post-revenue stage, right? તમે શેના માટે પૈસા ઉઘરાવો છો અત્યારે? કે મારી પાસે એક આઈડિયા છે કે ભાઈ આઈસ્ક્રીમની આપણે વાત કરીએ, વિલ કન્ટિન્યુ વિથ ધેટ. That okay, I want to sell ice cream. આ માર્કેટ છે, અમે ફાઉન્ડર્સ છે, અમે ફૂડની અંદર અમે સ્પેશિયાલિટી કરેલી છે એઝ ફાઉન્ડર્સ, and now we are coming up with these dreams which money for okay, I need to explore this idea. I need some machines for trials. I need to need money for my IP. I need to make sure that I have money to do the trials, right? એટલે ટ્રાયલ ની અંદર દૂધના પૈસા જોશે, ખાંડના પૈસા જોશે, મિક્સરના પૈસા જોશે, ફ્રીજના પૈસા જોશે. So that is where I need the money for, depending on the stage. If you already put in your friends and family na paisa તમે લગાડેલા હોય પહેલાથી, then you are looking money for expansion. That okay, we made the ice cream, we tried it to so many hundred of people, and we started selling a little bit, and now we need money because we want to expand the capacity. That instead of 100 liters, now we feel that I can touch 1,000 liters. So I need money for my expansion. Then you may need money, for example, it's a biotech product, or if you're looking at a patent, right? Then you need money for your validations, for your certifications, for patent applications, for prototyping. So those are the areas where also you can ask for money. So one is you go to the investor for this money. Second, parallelly, you can also apply for grants to the government. If it's a biotech product, then maybe you go to BIRAC mission for a grant. You can go to various incubation centers, you register, and they have now the authority to, grant you a certain amount of money so that your equity is not diluted. જ્યારે બી આપણે પૈસા લેવા જશું, there is some portion of the equity that we have to give to the investor. Now, if you don't want to dilute, you feel that, okay, અત્યારે તમારું valuation શું હોય? Why should I dilute so much amount of equity? Then you should go for grants. You should go for incubation center related funds. You should go to some accelerators maybe who can help you, right? So you can also take that route parallelly while you are raising your funds. So you end up diluting less amount of equity at that stage. So that is the fourth or the fifth slide that I would talk about, that this is my stage, either pre-revenue or prototype or whatsoever, and this is why I need my money, right? મને આ વસ્તુ માટે પૈસા જોઈએ છે, મારે ટેક બિલ્ડ કરવી છે, મારે એપ બિલ્ડ કરવી છે, મારે માર્કેટ સર્વે કરવો છે, મારે એક્સપાન્શન માટે જોઈએ છે, મારે ગ્રોથ માટે જોઈએ છે. So there are various those areas where you look at. That is the second part. That is the requirement and the fund deployment. These are like two different slides. But okay, I need 50 lakh rupees, out of which 5 lakh will go for marketing, for social media, maybe 50,000 will go for an app building. I need 1 lakh rupees for the next 3 months to pay salaries, etc., so on and so forth. So you need to calculate कि एक वर्ष સુધી તમારો ધંધાની અંદરથી જો revenue generate ના થાય, how am I going to survive, right? So raise enough amount of money that keeps you going for at least 12 to 16 months. So never go for less amount of money just because somebody is saying I can give you 25 lakhs tomorrow, but that may not be enough. 2 મહિના પછી ક્યાં જશો? 4 મહિના પછી ક્યાં જશો? So you need to think, loud. You need to think, have a longer vision and virtually understand that મને પગાર માટે કેટલા પૈસા જોશે, ભાડાની જગ્યા જોશે, ઓફિસ જોશે, સ્ટાફને પૈસા આપવા પડશે, ફોન, સીસીટીવી, ઇન્ટરનેટ, so many other things that everybody will have a different need. Every startup will have a different need. So you need to write that down, right? And write that down that, okay, this is the amount of money that I need. There's a fundamental formula that how can a business succeed? Then we say that the business will succeed if it doesn't fail. So if we write down that what are the areas which can fail my business, આટલા કારણોથી મારો ધંધો fail થઈ શકે. If we are able to define that, and if we are able to put that in form of numbers or areas, and if you have an answer to that okay, આવું થશે તો આવું કરીશ, કોવિડ થશે તો શું કરીશ, મારી પ્રોડક્ટનું શું થશે, આઈસ્ક્રીમ ખાવા તો કોઈ નહીં આવે, રાઈટ? મારો ફલાણો માણસ જતો રહેશે તો હું શું કરીશ, મને દૂધ નહીં મળે તો હું શું કરીશ, મારી પાસે પગારના પૈસા નહીં હોય તો હું શું કરીશ, મારી પાસે ક્વોલિટી ચેક નહીં હોય તો હું શું કરીશ. So when you are doing a startup, rather than thinking कि आम करना किस, optimism is always great, which is good to have for any entrepreneur, but it's very important to make sure and how am I going to fail. If you find that answer to your failure कि આટલા જ કારણ છે જેનાથી હું ફેલ થઈ શકીશ, એનો જવાબ મારી પાસે છે તો મારું સ્ટાર્ટઅપ કરિયર ફેલ નહીં. Because this is the question that the investor may ask, that okay, how will you fail? મારા પૈસા ડૂબી જશે તો શું? તેનો જવાબ તમારી પાસે હોવો જોઈએ, right? So that's one of the areas that kind of things we will look at. And then of course you can showcase your product either in form of drawings or in terms of 3D or in terms of video, in terms of application, if somebody is utilizing it, right? And then you talk about the full potential that, or a business plan that okay, આ વખતે પહેલા 6 મહિના હું ખાલી સરગાસણ એરિયામાં આઈસ્ક્રીમ વેચવાનું છે, એના પછી મારે એક્સપાન્ડ કરવું છે ગાંધીનગર અને એક્સપાન્ડ કરવું છે અડાલજ, એના પછી મારે એક્સપાન્ડ કરવું છે ચાંદલોડિયા or ચાંદખેડા, એના પછી મારે ફર્ધર જ્યોગ્રાફી મારી એક્સપાન્ડ કરવી છે. So you need to write down that how is your growth going to be in terms of numbers, in terms of number of orders, in terms of sales value, in terms of team, how are you going to grow? So if I say that okay, I am going to Drashti, when I am going to involve 50 lakh rupees with you, I am going to invest with you. Now I understand your idea, you're going to make good ice cream, you're going to sell in so and so area, but how will my money grow, right? મારે તો પૈસા, હું તો રિસ્ક લઉં છું તમારી ઉપર, નહીં તો હું બેંકમાં પૈસા ના મૂકી દઉં, નહીં તો હું સ્ટોક લઈ લઉં, હું એફડી કરી નાખું, કંઈ પણ હું કરી નાખું, તો મને તમારી જોડે પૈસા લગાવે તો how many times my money is going to grow. It's not about the profit. What is the multiple that we are going to get out of it? So that becomes a very important factor. So દ્રષ્ટિબેન મને કે સર હું તો તમને 5 ગણા પૈસા આપી દઈશ 5 વર્ષની અંદર. Then I'll say, okay, how? Right? That is when the numbers come in place. That is when the numbers say, this is how my sales will grow. This is how my profit will grow. This is how my market will grow. This is how my SKUs will grow. Today we are only doing vanilla ice cream. Tomorrow we will add chocolate to it. Then we will add maybe BPK to it. We'll add strawberry to it. Whatsoever, right? So, તમારી પાઇપલાઇન શું છે? એક જ પ્રોડક્ટમાં કોઈ ધરાઈ ગયું તો તમારી પાસે બીજી રેન્જ છે કે નહીં એમને આપવા માટે. It is applicable to any form of business, right? So, how are you going to grow my money? That I need to see on paper. If I don't see that on paper, it's not going to help me at all as an investor to understand, right? So, it's not only about risk, it's about how many times my money is going to grow with you. And why should I invest my money with you? You should have answers to all of those. So that's how I believe that a pitch should be 8 to 10 decent slides, not very heavy, very limited. It talks in brief about the idea, about the projection, about the growth, about the product, about the founders, and the total market. That's how these slides are placed, right? And that's how the pitch deck happens. So you can very well go on YouTube, see Shark Tank episodes, આપણા શાર્ક ટેન્કના બી જુઓ, અમેરિકાના બી જુઓ, ઓસ્ટ્રેલિયાના બી જુઓ, then you will see how pitching is done, how and why the sharks get interested in this whole thing. So it's an art, it's a presentation. I may be a studious person, I may be number 1 ranker and a gold medalist of my university, but if I'm not good at communication, I will fail, because finally you need to sell. If you can't sell your idea in first place to the investor, you can't sell it to number of people that you are looking at. Available market does not mean that you're going to capture whole of the market, right? So communication is the key. One is the pitch deck. That's very theoretical. It's process oriented. It's defined. You can have variety of ways you can make a pitch deck. It's very important to communicate well. It's not about English. English જાણવું જરૂરી જરાય નથી. It adds value, but not necessarily કે English. તમને ગુજરાતીમાં પણ તમને વસ્તુ વેચતા તો આવડવી જોઈએ. તો તમારી પ્રેક્ટિસ એવી હોવી જોઈએ, ઇલોક્યુશન કોમ્પિટિશન જેવી, that you should do a dummy sell with your friends, that okay boss, you become an investor, I become a founder, let us ask questions to each other and let me make sure that you are not going to invest and I'll make sure that you will invest. How are we going to make that happen? So you do these mocks, which is very very important, because it may come up with any stupid idea out of it and which may suddenly say yaar આ તો વિચાર્યું જ નહોતું આપણે કોઈ જગ્યા ઉપર કે આવો ઇન્વેસ્ટર આવો સવાલ પૂછી શકે આપણને. They can ask you anything and everything about it, right? So that's one side. Also you need a good advisory panel, right? You see you have so many mentors with IIC. Anay bhai che, Amit bhai che, I am there, Abhinav bhai che. There are so many people who mentor those teams because they all come with a set of experience. શું કર્યું, શું નહીં, શું કરવું જોઈએ, શું નહીં, right? So advisor જ્યારે તમારા બોર્ડ ઉપર હોય ત્યારે કોન્ફિડન્સ લેવલ વધે કે ઓકે સ્ટાર્ટઅપ તો છે પણ એને 4 જણા બીજા છે એને ગાઈડ કરવા વાળા, right? So have an advisory board, have an advisory panel which is going to guide you through the whole process, particularly when you're starting your first business. So I would always suggest and recommend that, right? That's how I would look at the pitch deck as of now. Now coming to one question Dusty suggested is like, you know, what is the level of involvement as an investor in any business, right? And what are the limitations or the boundaries, right? બધાને એવું લાગે કે યાર ઇન્વેસ્ટમેન્ટ લેવા જાવ પછી તો આપણને રોજ ધંધો શીખવાડવા આવશે. Not necessary. Again, it depends on the psychology of the investor. Okay, so that is also very important. I think it's a great question Dusty suggested was that કે ઇન્વેસ્ટર પણ કેવો લેવો, right? અને જ્યારે પિચ કરવા જાવ છો ત્યારે એના વિશે પણ એક બેકગ્રાઉન્ડ સમજવું જરૂરી છે કે ભાઈ આ ઇન્વેસ્ટર તો છે ખાલી પૈસા આપશે કે મારો જીવ ખાશે સવારથી રાત સુધી, right? So I want to make sure that I have the freedom as a founder and I have an investor who is to back me up in this whole process where I need him or her. That's the important. એ ઇન્વેસ્ટરનો મારી ફિલ્ડમાં અનુભવ છે કે નહીં, સ્ટ્રેટેજી બિલ્ડ કરવામાં ઇન્વેસ્ટર મને સપોર્ટ કરશે કે નહીં. So there are variety of investors and it depends on what stage the investor or the mentor or an investor come mentor is getting on board with you. કારણ કે VC સ્ટેજમાં જાઓ તો એ લોકોને તો આંકડાથી જ મતલબ હોય, કારણ કે એમને નંબર્સ જ જોઈએ કે ભાઈ તમારું સેલ કેટલું છે, 100 રૂપિયા હતું મને તો 1000 રૂપિયા છે, તમારે જે કરવું એના માટે કરો. તમારો જીવ ખાઈ જશે. So, but they will help you network, they will help you grow. So always find an investor who is not only going to give you money, but will also help you grow your business. Okay, he will recommend you into places. So if I am into restaurant business and somebody comes to me that okay sir અમે સેન્ડવિચ ની એક ક્લાઉડ કિચન ની બ્રાન્ડ કરીએ છે, તો એમને ખબર હોય છે કે મિલાપભાઈ છે, બાવરજીના ઓનર છે, કે એમનું ક્લાઉડ કિચન નો બિઝનેસ છે, so he'll be able to help us out because he understands the business. He'll be able to add more value on that perspective. So I think that is what you should look in from an investor. And boundaries, you can define. It's about the relationship. We cannot. There's no absolute answer to it, but we can define when we sit down with an investor and say that okay, boss, this is where I need your help, and this is where maybe I don't need an intervention. So I think that's how I will look at the investor involvement in the whole process. So money can be raised, as I said, you can raise as low as few lakhs, you can raise as high as few crores in the whole process. Right? So it starts with bootstrapping, right? Then you have friends and family, then you have an angel round. Angel round is a set of angel investors who do other businesses and are also investing with us, right? Then there's a group of people or a group of angel investors who invest along with us. Then comes a pre-seed round, and a pre-seed round is primarily, it's defined. You can get into a pre-seed round at any valuation or any number. એટલે આમાં કોઈ ફિક્સ ડેફિનેશન આપણી આલ્ફાબેટિકલ નથી ABCDEFG ની જેમ, પણ કે આપણે કેવા સ્ટેજ પર કર્યું, પણ જનરલી આવા સ્ટેજીસ હોય અને we have to go through the total journey. If we look at that, okay, મારી પ્રોડક્ટ બહુ ખતરનાક છે અને હું સીધું 100 કરોડના વેલ્યુએશન ઉપર પૈસા રેઝ કરીશ, બહુ બધા ફાઉન્ડરને એવું થાય કે મારો આઈડિયા તો એટલો જબરજસ્ત છે કે આમાં તો બસ I remember one time કે હું નાતા શાવર લેતા મને એક એવો આઈડિયા વિચાર આવ્યો, એમ દરવાજો ખોલીને મારી વાઈફને કીધું, મેં કીધું તું યાદ કરજો મેં તને શાવર લેતા કીધું હતું કે બહુ ખતરનાક આઈડિયા છે, અને પછી I could never raise money for that ever actually, right? So there is a way to raise funds and arrive. There is a way that if I'm very studious, but I straight away cannot be a double MBA, or I cannot do my master straight away. I have to do my 10th standard, I have to do my 12th standard, I have to give the NEET or whatsoever exams to be given. I have to go through that journey of time, right? So if somebody tells you that okay, 100 crore turnover થાય ત્યારે મારી પાસે આવજો હું તમને પૈસા આપી દઈશ, it never works. So I would always suggest strongly, don't wait for it, right? And raise the particular amount of money as and when it is required. Raise small, but raise. તમે 50 લાખ રૂપિયા raise કરો, તમે 1 કરોડ રૂપિયા રેઝ કરો, પણ રેઝ કરો, સ્ટાર્ટ નોટિસિંગ લેડો કે આ કોઈક સ્ટાર્ટઅપ છે જેને ફંડ રેઝ કર્યું છે, જેને ગ્રાન્ટ મળી છે, અચ્છા અને બાયરેક્ટની ગ્રાન્ટ મળી છે, so it automatically validates the startup in that whole process. You have to be very much within the ecosystem while you do that. So it's a very creative space, and it's a very interesting area. And as I said, there is no set formula to raise funds, but you should raise when you start. Let people say no. Let them say ના ભાઈ હજી તો કોઈ તૈયારી નથી તારી, તો આપણને ખબર પડે ને કે નેક્સ્ટ ટાઈમ આટલું પ્રિપેર કરીને જઈશ. So you can always ask them that okay sir, તમને ક્યારે આવું તમારી પાસે next time, right? And again, when you go to investors, make sure that either they are sector agnostic. So એવું ના થાય કે હું રિન્યુએબલ એનર્જીનો પ્રોજેક્ટ કરતો હોઉં અને હું રિટેલના ઇન્વેસ્ટર પાસે જતો રહું. They are never going to say no, right? But it's never going to work out. So do your research on the investor or the fund wherever you are planning to go. And okay, you need to study, right? You need to study that what are the areas, what are the startups that they've invested into, what happened to those startups, right? તમે સારા હવે તો પહેલા તો અમે હતા ત્યારે ટ્યુશન ક્લાસીસ ચાલતા હતા, તો ઘણા ટ્યુશન ટીચર એવા હતા અમારી કોલેજની અંદર સ્કૂલમાં કે જેનો ફર્સ્ટ સેકન્ડ ને થર્ડ રેન્ક આવતો હોય ને એના જ હું ટ્યુશન લઈશ. અરે અમે કે સાહેબ તો એને ક્યાં ટ્યુશનની જરૂર છે, મારો 25મો નંબર આવે છે, મારું ટ્યુશન રાખો ને તમે. But they will not do that, right? So it's very important to study and make sure that okay, he or she is the right person who's going to guide me. in that whole process. So that's how I kind of look at. So one is the theory part, the pitching part, the business plan part, financial projections part. Financial projection માં તમારે બહુ સિમ્પલ કામ કરવું હોય ને કોઈને બી તો તમારે ઘરનું બજેટ બનાવો. પહેલા હું તો બધાને આ જ કહું છું, તમારા ઘરનું બજેટ બનાવો. તમે લખવા બેસશો ને ત્યારે તમને ખબર પડે. આજે મોઢે પૂછે ને તો કે તમારા ઘરનો ખર્ચો કેટલો, કે મારે 2000 ઇલેક્ટ્રિકનું બિલ આવે, 1000 રૂપિયા અમારું ગેસનું બિલ આવે, કે 1000 રૂપિયા. પણ તમે જ્યારે લખવા બેસશો ને તો તમને મોર્નિંગ શેડ્યુલથી ખબર પડશે કે સૌથી પહેલો ખર્ચો કયો તમારો સવારનો, તો કે દૂધવાળા. એના પછી ખર્ચો કયો, તો કે ન્યૂઝપેપર વાળા. પછી ખર્ચો કયો, તો કે માળીનું. પછી ખર્ચો કયો, તો કે ગાડી સાફ કરવા આવે છે, સ્કૂટર સાફ કરવા વાળા આવે છે. તમે જ્યારે લખવા બેસો ને તો તમને ખબર પડશે કે there are so many number of things that we forget. We forget કે દિવાળી આવશે, ઇન્ફેક્શન લેવાનું આવશે, દવા થશે, ઇન્સ્યોરન્સ થશે, મેડિક્લેમ થશે. તમે ઘરનું બજેટ એકવાર ખાલી લખશો ને તો તમને ખબર પડી છે કે અમારે કેટલા એરિયાઝ અમારે પકડવા પડશે when you get into business. But that's the easiest exercise to do. That your own startup, તમારું ઘર તમારું એક સ્ટાર્ટઅપ છે માનીને ચાલો કે મારે કાલથી ઘર ચલાવવાનું છે, તો મારો ખર્ચો કેટલો હોવો જોઈએ? આઈ એમ ટેલિંગ યુ કે આમાં 50% લોકો હશે જેને નહીં આ ગણિતમાં લીધું હોય કોઈ દિવસ, અને મને નથી ખબર. પણ હું જ્યારે લખવા બેઠો ત્યારે મને ખબર પડે મારીને તો પૈસા ગણ્યા જ નતા કોઈ. That's how okay, there is somebody who said English, Taleru Technologies, Karthik, sorry, Gujarati in English, but so I will take it in English also. So what I was trying to say is that start with the smallest of the areas in terms when you plan your budgeting. It's very, very crucial. It's very, very important. So you don't miss out any of those areas. I
have one question.
Yes, sir.
Sorry to interrupt you in this.
Not at all.
Sir, one thing also.
Please go ahead.
One question that I always have for certain set of startups, because sometimes they become like Honey or Shani, they are into market, making good money, have good top line. So how to orient them and make them understand the basic that why they should raise funds?
Right.
So if you can elaborate that, because right now we are talking when they come, okay, I need funds.
Right.
But if you can just elaborate the base, and I'm very happy to see them that why they should raise funds. So that scalability and others also, if you can touch base maybe during the session, that would be of great help for the team to show them a bit.
So let me talk about two different areas, right? One is why should any startup raise money, right? So there is a very thin line between profit and value. The answer would be that there is a very thin line between profit and value. A profitable venture may not be valuable, and a valuable venture may not be profitable, right? So if we talk about, I remember giving these examples sometime, I don't know if in our session, Bhogilal Mulz, you know how old that brand is? It is before our revolution of 1857. It's a brand since 1857. For them that more and more number of people in the world वस्तु suffice कर ली. So it purely depends on the vision of the founder and the mentors who need to also push them. That boss, આપણે ખાલી કે વર્ષે દિવસે કરોડ રૂપિયા કમાવા માટે ધંધો નથી કરતા. આપણે એટલા માટે કરીએ છીએ કે આપણા હજારો લાઈફને આપણે એડ્રેસ કરી શકીએ અને જોડે પ્રોફિટ પણ કરીએ. So that has to be actually discussed and arrived upon, which a lot of us do not do. કારણ કે આપણને બધાને એસ્પાયરેશન્સ ને આપણું વિશ બાસ્કેટ એટલું ક્લિયર છે કે એવરીબડી કે ભાઈ મારે આટલા પૈસા હોવા જોઈએ, આટલો ઇન્સ્યોરન્સ હોવો જોઈએ, આટલી ભવિષ્યની સિક્યોરિટી હોવી જોઈએ, આટલું સોનું ચાંદી ધરતી જે બી આપણે સમજીને ચાલ્યા. But what after that? Consider yourself at that stage. Same applies to business, same applies to life, right? that whatever we are thinking right now, imagine કે અત્યારે આવી ગયું, હવે શું? Right? So nobody has that answer because we don't think that through. So it's very important to think it through, that what impact I really want to create with my product and how fast I need the money to do that. That's what I'll do. Same applies to, so does that answer one side of the question, Abhinav?
Yes, I think very well done. That is what is deliberity, and what you rightly pointed out, that if, putting it a reverse case, that finance is not as a constraint but as a resource. If we take and just put it that, okay, if I get this thing, impact I can make, I think that's very important. I think, thank you. That's what I think the startups should also listen very carefully.
Every startup, small or big. I think it was a great question by Abhinav bhai, kanke we are talking about proven startups. We are talking about proven products. We are talking about proven companies who started making profits, right? So, and they are a product of PDEU yourself. But are we satisfied? ડરાઈ ગયા, સંતોષ થઈ ગયો કે બસ હવે તો બહુ પૈસા બની ગયા, હવે કઈ કામ નથી કરવું, તો પછી તમારું વિઝન જ શું હતું? રાઈટ? કે I want to do more and more is what. Why is Amitabh Bachchan working at the age of 79? Does he need money? Does he need fame? No. Right? So why is he working? I'm just taking a very different type of example, but they are working because they feel that, okay, I want to tell more. I want to reach out to people more. There was a time when people said કે plumber ની એડમાં અમિતાભ બચ્ચન આવે, travel agency ની એડમાં અમિતાભ બચ્ચન આવે, હલવાઈ તો અમિતાભ બચ્ચન આવે, કલર વાળો તો એ આવે, તો શું એના પાસે કામ નથી? Right? But he is also exploring himself more and more. That okay, મને તો 1 મિનિટમાં we just dial તો કે અમિતાભ બચ્ચન, ફલાણું તો કે અમિતાભ બચ્ચન, આપણે કે બે આ કે, and parallelly every morning at 4:30 is in the gym, 6 o'clock is his first tweet. He has numbered his tweets on an everyday basis that you can go and recollect this is number of tweets. And when he speaks, when he talks about Madhushala, he talks in a different world. His screen upar aave to આખું capture kar le છે. So that is, he gives his 200%. And that is about life living in full, right? So investment, business, startups is not about making money only or making profit. સંતોષ કેવી રીતના મળવાનો છે? સંતોષ કેવી રીતે મળશે? કન્ટેન્ટમેન્ટ ક્યાંથી થશે? બધાને એસ્પાયરેશન્સ તો હોય, એમ્બિશન તો હોય, પણ એ એમ્બિશન અચીવ થઈ ગયું પછી શું? કાલે આ ગાડી લઈશ, પછી આ બંગલો લઈશ, પછી આ લઈશ, ઓકે આજે તમારે બધું છે, પછી શું? Then we at that classic age is 40 for all of us. Then we suddenly start feeling life નું મહત્વ શું છે, લાઈફ નો પર્પસ શું છે? then આપણે સ્પિરિચ્યુઅલિટી સાઈડ જતા રહીએ, પછી આપણે સદગુરુ અને જાત જાતના લોકોને આપણે સાંભળવા માંડીએ અને એમાંથી આપણે ઇન્સ્પિરેશન લેવા માંડીએ, રાઈટ? સો યા સોરી, હિન્દી એન્ડ ઇંગ્લિશ. आई थिंक दृष्टि भाई सेंडिंग मी गुड पॉइंटर्स. आई शुड टॉक इन हिंदी एंड इंग्लिश. सो हम अलग अलग तरीके से सोचने लगते हैं, राइट? सो माय हिंदी इज लिटिल बिट हिंदलिश, गुजलिश एंड यू नो, बट प्लीज बेयर मी विद दैट. सो हम ऐसा सोचने लगते हैं कि यू नो अब लाइफ में क्या है, 40 साल के हो गए, इतना नौकरी कर लिया, इतना पैसा हो गया, अब लाइफ में कुछ और होना चाहिए. तब हम जाकर के नया पैशन, नया हॉबी ढूंढने का कोशिश करते हैं. तब तक 50 साल हो जाता है, तब रियलाइज होता है अरे यार मेरे को तो बैडमिंटन खेलना था, मुझे तो टेनिस खेलना था, मुझे तो दुनिया ट्रैवल करनी थी. तो जब ट्रैवल करने का टाइम था तब तो कुछ किया नहीं. फिर लुकिंग इन द हाइंडसाइट हम ऐसा सोचने लगते अरे यार वो रह गया, ये रह गया, वो रह गया. आई वुड ऑलवेज सजेस्ट, एंड दैट द थिंग आई फॉलो, राइट? मैं हमेशा फॉलो करता हूं दैट मुझे जो करना है, मेरी लाइफ इज नॉट बिफोर 1 सेकेंड, इट इज नॉट आफ्टर 1 सेकेंड. लाइफ इज हैपनिंग राइट नाउ. ये 1 सेकंड में है, 2 मिनट में भूकंप हो जाएगा, हम सब नष्ट हो जाएंगे, नहीं मालूम है. जो चला गया वो चला गया, अभी है वो है प्रेजेंट, राइट? सो दैट प्रेजेंट वी ऑल शुड थिंक. दिस इज नॉट अ स्पिरिचुअल टॉक, दिस इज नॉट अ फिलोसॉफिकल टॉक दैट आई एम सेइंग, बट दिस इज समथिंग दैट अप्लाइज टू ऑल ऑफ अस इन लाइफ. दैट जो मोमेंट जो एंजॉय करना है करो. अगर मुझे मजा आ रहा है अभी बात करने का तो मुझे मजा आ रहा है, राइट? तो मैं लाइफ जी रहा हूं. अगर मैं फोर्सफुली इसको कर रहा हूं तो मेरे लिए वो मजा नहीं है. इट बिकम्स अ ड्यूटी फॉर मी, विच लॉट ऑफ ईयर पीपल माइट बी डूइंग. अगर क्रेडिट बेस ये होता वेबिनार तो भी 500 लोग होते इधर कि ये वेबिनार अटेंड करोगे आपको 10 क्रेडिट मिलने वाला है. तो सब कुछ वो क्या वीडियो बंद करके सब बैठ जाएंगे कि भाई नहीं, हम हैं सर लेकिन कनेक्शन डाउन था, लो फ्रीक्वेंसी है। तो हमको कोविड ने सब कुछ सिखा दिया है कि व्हाट काइंड ऑफ आर्ग्यूमेंट्स वी कैन डू व्हाइल अटेंडिंग वेबिनार्स और सेशंस और स्कूलिंग सेशंस और व्हाटसएवर, राइट? सो आई थिंक ऑल सेड एंड डन, गुड बुक्स, good movies, good series, good TEDx talks, good people, YouTube videos, सब कुछ, it has everything, इतना भंडार भरा है। लेकिन हमको what is the choice that we make, हम क्या चूज करते हैं? एक दोस्त है जो रोज शाम को पार्टी करता है, एक दोस्त है जो अच्छा काम भी करता है, पार्टी भी वीकेंड में करता है। अब मुझे किसके साथ में घूमना है? We are a result of the choices that we make in whatever we do. We are ऐसा बोला जाता है ना, our net worth is our network और vice versa. Our network is our net worth. हम किनकी पहचान में हैं, किनके साथ घूमते हैं, वो हमारा नेटवर्क उस हिसाब से। Okay, so Abhi asked the question, the investor is ready to get into the business because it needs the expertise and support of that investor to grow. And second question is how to find a co-founder and advisor for the startup. Okay, so the first one, how to pitch a startup idea so that even if startup doesn't need money, investor is ready to get into it, needs experience support of that investor. So that is mentorship, right? So it's not जो आपके साथ में रह करके आपको समझा सकता है और आपको गाइड कर सकता है, ऐसा करो, ऐसा करो, ऐसा करो, ये मत करो, ये करो, राइट? आपके पिताजी होंगे, आपके दोस्त होंगे, मतलब कोई घर में होगा तो उसको तो हम भाव देते नहीं है, क्योंकि पिताजी तो बोलते रहते हैं, मम्मी तो बोलती रहती है, दीदी तो बोलती रहती है। So we always accept more from outsiders. एक natural phenomena है, it's a psychology of a normal human being, applies to all. तो हमको उधर जाना है, हमको या तो हमको डिसाइड करना है कि मेरे को जो अच्छा अच्छा बोलेगा उसके पास जाऊंगा, या तो मुझे जो सही बोलेगा उसके पास जाऊंगा। अगेन इट्स अ चॉइस दैट यू मेक, किसके पास जाओगे, इसको गेज कैसे करोगे? सो यू हैव टू बी ओपन टू दैट। सो वी नीड राइट मेंटर्स फॉर दैट, राइट? सेकंड जो बताया, हाउ टू फाइंड अ को फाउंडर एंड एडवाइजर फॉर द स्टार्टअप। लिंक्डइन पे जाओ, राइट? फेसबुक पे मत जाओ, इंस्टाग्राम पे मत जाओ, मतलब टू फाइंड द राइट को फाउंडर। एंड अगेन इट डिपेंड्स, आपको अगर इन्फ्लुएंसिंग के बिजनेस में हो तो इंस्टाग्राम पे जाओ, फेसबुक पे जाओ, बट आपको सोचना है कि आप किस टाइप की स्टार्टअप में। मेरे हिसाब से लिंक्डइन इज द बेस्ट प्लेस टू बी, राइट? और क्लब हाउस जैसे हुआ है अभी, जहाँ पे बहुत सारे इंटरेक्शंस होते हैं, ऑडियो बेस्ड चैट्स होती है, सो वहां पे बहुत सारे ग्रुप्स है, जिसके अंदर स्लैक पे जाओ, राइट? सो स्लैक के ऊपर यू हैव सो मेनी ग्रुप्स दैट एवरीबडी इज फाइंडिंग अ को-फाउंडर। तो को-फाउंडर ढूंढने का ग्रुप ही अलग है, वहां पे 10,000 को-फाउंडर मिलेंगे आपको, लेकिन जरूरी नहीं है कि आपको चाहिए वहां से होगा। तो उसमें आप बात कीजिए, इंटरैक्ट कीजिए, उसके अंदर आपका आइडिया रखिए कि बॉस मैं ऐसा आइडिया करने जा रहा हूं और मुझे ऐसा सपोर्ट चाहिए, मुझे ऐसा गाइडेंस चाहिए, या तो मेंटरशिप चाहिए या मुझे को-फाउंडर चाहिए। पॉसिबल है कि आपके जैसा नॉवेल आइडिया उनके पास भी होगा, सामने वाला भी ऐसा सोच रहा होगा, सो देन यू कनेक्ट एंड दैट्स हाउ इट गोज अहेड। लिंक्डइन के ऊपर या फेसबुक या इंस्टाग्राम, इट डिपेंड्स आपके कितने दोस्त हैं, कितने फॉलोअर्स हैं। वहां पे आप टैगलाइन डाल दीजिए, ट्राइंग टू फाइंड अ को-फाउंडर, समबडी प्लीज हेल्प मी, दिस इज माय आइडिया, एंड let others and tag people along with it, so they will post it further and they will help you, right? That's the best way to network, and that's how I have done so many other things, and which is helping me. So I'm suggesting that's the best way to do it also. So films देखो, movies देखनी चाहिए, अच्छी बुक्स पढ़नी चाहिए। बुक पढ़ने में अपने को कंटाला आता है तो ऑडिबल डाउनलोड कर लो, and you can hear to it while you drive or while you walk or while you do whatever, right? But good books, good autobiographies, what inspire you? आपको पहले तो अपने आप को पहचानो। I think this is one last thing which I want to take in the last 5-7 minutes is how much do you know yourself? How much influenced you are or how much inspired you are? Influence होना और inspire होना, again उसमें बहुत अंतर होता है। इन्फ्लुएंस तो किसी से भी हो जाएंगे, इंस्पायर कैसे हो? तो मुझे अगर किसी का काम इंस्पायर करता है, कुछ टाइप का काम इंस्पायर करता है, सो आई वुड गो एंड रीड उसने क्या किया। वी लव टेनिस, बट हाउ मेनी ऑटोबायोग्राफीज हैव वी रेड? आप एंड्री अगेसी की ऑटोबायोग्राफी है, ओपन करके वी मस्ट रीड दैट ऑटोबायोग्राफी। So it's not only about sports. You should also read Ram Gopal Verma. Then you will see the two extreme levels, right? And you should also read rest of them. So I think there are some books which I will recommend right now. एक book है जिसका नाम है Principles, and that Principles is a book by Ray Dalio, right? And Ray Dalio, he is a CEO, I mean owner of a very huge firm जिसने बहुत पैसा बनाया in the industry. So Principles talks about what things not to do. Principle does not mean morals, not in moral form, right? Principles mean मैं करूंगा, मैं नहीं करूंगा, वो बहुत क्लियर है. और उसका YouTube के ऊपर छोटे छोटे वीडियोस भी है. People who do not want to read बड़ी बड़ी किताबें, they can go on YouTube, write down Ray Dalio Principles. एनिमेशन का छोटा छोटा आपको आएगा उसके अंदर. That what are the things, what are my limitations, what are my strengths, what are the areas I can work upon. So work upon yourself. Make आपका खुद का डिसिप्लिन बनाइए और उससे आप आगे बढ़िए. I think it's important to know yourself is what I was trying to say when I talked about Ray Dalio. Then you can read, okay, let me share a few from my own list, because I read a lot of variety, and not necessary that you read one book at a time. You can read maybe 2-3 books at a time. So I read 3 books at a time. That's my way of reading. And because I feel that कभी spirituality में कंटाल आता है तो I get into business, कभी business में कंटाल आता है तो get into autobiography. So I always read an autobiography, a self-learning or a self-help book, and a spiritual book to some or the other time, right? So even if you read Unsuitable Boy, Karan Johar का है, that's also a very different type of book, but it's very, very, very different. The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari is very well known, पुराना है. It's very well known by, of course, Robin Sharma. But that talks about spirituality and so many other things. You can read Dream with Your Eyes Open by Ronnie Screwvala. That's also another beautiful book. 0 to 1 by Peter Thiel. It's again an excellent book which everybody should read. Ikigai. So Ikigai is a very famous book right now. Japanese book hai. That Ikigai is, it's a principle how to live happily and how people in Japan live for more than 100 years. वहाँ पे एक गांव है यहाँ पे लोगों का एवरेज एज 100 साल के ऊपर, राइट? सो कैसा है, हाउ इज दिस पॉसिबल, राइट? सो इट्स नॉट ओनली अबाउट वर्किंग, इट्स अबाउट 360 डिग्री वी नीड टू वर्क ऑन आवरसेल्व्स. वंस यू आर अ गुड ह्यूमन बीइंग, आपको बाकी सब में मजा आने वाला है. सो दीज आर सम फ्यू गुड बुक्स. हाइपर फोकस इज वन. Sapiens, of course, everybody might have read. It talks about the history of Earth and so many other areas. Then Walt Disney का बहुत बढ़िया बुक है, इसका CEO का